Wild in Thailand event. So if you're feeling the cold, well, you certainly won't once we get started. And we're going to be talking about the beautiful, beautiful, warm country that we can all dream of visiting next year. So make yourself comfortable, get yourself a drink. Start, if you are cold at the moment, those of you in the UK will be, I'm sure. Yeah, Jackie's first on in the chat box saying hi from a very chilly Shropshire. She needs some heat. Oh, Jackie, let's run away to Thailand. we're all gonna want to go tonight. Pamela's from saying hello from under the duvet in freezing Kent. Well, equally, just picture that you're in Thailand, Pamela. Hello to Colin. Hello to Tanner in Istanbul. I hope it's warmer there. To Susan, Tony in Southampton, Rebecca in Manchester, Chloe in Alton. Kevin says it's very cold in Blackpool. Juanita from Smedic. And yes, we've got people joining us all over the UK, as well as Istanbul, of course. A great hello to Sally and Tony and a very cold Simmons yacht. Yes, I bet you get a bit of a wind there. Michael and Milton Keynes, Stephen in Maidstone. Kent's got a glass of rum to keep him warm. Oh, good thinking, good thinking. If anybody needs to run and get a glass of rum, do. Or just, I don't know, make yourself a Thai curry as soon as this is after. That's what we all need. A nice red or green curry. Hello to Elizabeth from a frosty Hebden Bridge. Oh, beautiful place, but yes, I bet it's cold. Hello to Mike in Edinburgh. Karen in Winchester. James in Edinburgh. And Tanner says it's 18 degrees centigrade in Istanbul. See, we would take that at the moment. Tanner, it's going to be going below freezing in the UK tonight. So we are feeling the cold. It's suddenly hit us. Hello to Martin. He says he's in a chilly, dark, depressing London. Looking forward to hearing about somewhere warmer and more enlightening. Oh, exactly. You're going to enjoy tonight, Martin. And hello to Simon and Jane in Frozen, Lincolnshire. Hello, Nicholas. So, yes, as I say, make yourself comfortable. We'll be kicking off in a minute. Do feel free to say hello in the chat box. And we do promise you some warmth tonight. You will be feeling that warmth. You'll be wanting to jump on a plane to Thailand by the time we finish. Hello to Paula from Norwich, to Ray and Pauline from High Peak. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, over the next hour, yes, as I say, we're going to be visiting one of our favourite countries. We know it's one of the Wanderlust readers' favourite countries, Thailand, perennial favourite. So we're going to be heading deep into the forests to hear all about the country's favourite animal, of course, the elephants, and a pioneering new project which helps the elephants and the people. But we'll be hearing some other ideas too for exploring Thailand in 2023 and beyond. And we'll have plenty of time for your questions too. So, as I say, this should really warm us up and entertain us, inspire us, and get us dreaming of beautiful Thailand. So in a moment, I'll introduce the speakers tonight. We'll also be finding out who's won the prize of a holiday to Thailand, because, of course, if you entered our recent competition, which was tied in the Responsible Thailand Awards, or by registering for the event tonight, you got a chance, of course, to win a beautiful trip to Thailand. So we will be announcing tonight who has won that. So just a few more people on. And Tanner says UK weather is unpredictable. It is, absolutely. And hi to David and Jen, currently in rural Ireland. Ooh. Sorry, I don't know why I'm shivering. You're probably warmer than we are. But yeah, I hope you're somewhere cozy. Got a Guinness in hand or something. While we dream of, I should have mentioned Thai curries. I hope Mark or Chris, you could mention Thai food tonight, because I think could really, really do with a wonderful Thai meal right now. So let's introduce our speakers tonight. Well, Mark Stratton should be familiar to a lot of people on here. And Mark's going to be our main speaker tonight. Mark is a contributing editor to Wanderlust. He's a travel journalist, broadcaster, and a photographer. And he's visited Thailand many times. I'm not sure if he knows how many, but I know it's an awful lot. And he says that the cultural diversity, tropical landscapes, and the islands of Thailand have always been a highlight and keep him going back. The food, of course, is divine. And it's also his love of elephants, which takes him back. And that has formed a significant part of his writings about Thailand in recent times. We're also joined tonight by Chris Lee, another old friend of ours. Chris first visited Thailand in 1997, and he does know how many times he's been. He's returned to his adopted country 107 times.
Wow.
So that's impressive that you've kept count, Chris. And of course, it's going to be 108, isn't it, this Christmas?
It is, yeah.
It is. Fantastic. Chris still says that he's got plenty to see and experience in the land of smiles, and gives him the opportunity to indulge his passions of Thai history and culture, as well as animal welfare, Thai food, and well-being. Chris feels blessed that he works as Thailand's head of marketing in the UK and Ireland. So, yeah, dream job there for Chris. And he does, Chris, you do a brilliant job of it as well. So great to have you on here. So, usual sort of form, really. Those of you who've been on a Wanderlust webinar before, you'll know about the chat box. If you haven't joined one of our webinars before, then do feel free to go to the chat box if you want and ask any questions. I'll be keeping a note of questions so that when we get to the Q&A, we can ask then. And obviously, if you've got any comments or tips yourselves, then do feel free to put them in there. Otherwise, don't be distracted by the chat box. Just listen to our great speaker tonight, Mark. But there will be plenty of time at the end as well for a Q&A, so you can also save your questions up for then. And at that point, I will also announce who's won that prize for a fantastic trip to Thailand. So, to get us in the mood, why don't we have a video of Thailand?
It's time to make a change. It's more than I could possibly imagine. In Thailand, wherever you wake up, eat, walk, sit, or sleep, you're creating new memories that will last a lifetime. Write your life's new chapter in amazing Thailand. Amazing new chapters. Amazing Thailand.
Oh, Chris, I think that helped get us in the mood. And also, I think I love that final line about creating memories to last a lifetime. I mean, that really summed it up, didn't it?
Certainly hope so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, I know you've just got a few words to say, so I'm going to leave it to you and see you both later.
Thank you, Lynn, and welcome. Welcome to this Thailand evening, or as you say, Sawadee Club. it's so lovely for you all to join us tonight. The main act is soon to follow, but I just wanted to mention just a few words on behalf of Thailand Tourism. We've certainly had quite a quick return now to tourism in Thailand, but it's something which it's still very much our passion that our recovery and our return to tourism is one which is responsible and sustainable. And so our interaction with people like your wonderful selves, the readers of Wanderlust, is a very important audience for us to ensure that you're part of that journey. So whether we are visiting the north of Thailand, a bit of my favorite, to be honest with you, the jungle meets the mountains, through to the ancient cities, the capital cities of Sukhothai, Ayutthaya, and Bangkok in the center, or down to those 2,500 square miles of beach, there is so much to enjoy, but it's underpinned by an amazing sense of history and culture, and obviously that wonderful Thai food too. So for us, yes, we want to encourage more and more people to come back to Thailand, but do it in a responsible and sustainable way. So we're not chasing the numbers. What we're chasing is people to come and have that great, authentic experience and share some of that Thai smile that has become so famous in terms of its hospitality. So we hope that you will join us. I saw one person was coming to Thailand in January, and we're looking forward to welcoming you and all of you. But without further ado, I'm very, very happy to hand over to one of our very great friends of Thailand, Mark Stratton, who's going to tell us all about how he's gone wild in Thailand.
Well, good evening to everybody. It's great to see so many people logging on. Yeah, my name is Mark Stratton. I'm a travel writer and radio broadcaster, and I'm also the founder of an Asian elephant welfare campaign called Friends of Bunker. So you're going to get a healthy dose of elephants tonight. Thailand is famed for its beautiful cultural landmarks that Chris outlined earlier, and also its beautiful beaches. But there are some fantastic backwater adventures which are offering superb benefits for ecological and community-based tourism. And the last time I was in Thailand back in July, I very much got a sense that Thailand has a new determination to build a more sustainable and green tourism. And what I went out there to discover and write about on this occasion was a remarkable project, which is just transforming the way elephant tourism is performed in Thailand. And elephants are one of the absolute highlights for visitors. And you can see on this picture, there is a menacing little 4-year-old baby elephant. She's charging straight towards me. And in 2 seconds later, hit me in the midriff. She was very, very excited. You can see the sturdy leg of her mother watching over us, and she's part of a remarkable new experience called the Koi Evolution Project. And just recently, they won the Responsible Thailand Awards Green Shoots Project of the Year, which was an event sponsored by Wanderlust magazine. And the story about this remarkable project is actually in the current issue of the magazine now. And I'm just going to show you a little video first to give you a small essence of the project, and I'll explain a little bit more after the video. So a Gentle Giants sponsored project in the village of Tong Niao, the Karen tribal people, who are being sponsored by ecotourism, and we're the first sort of group of ecotourists to turn up here. And what they do is they take the money, they house us in their homestays, and it pays for them to keep their elephants in the forest unchained, and rather than send them away to riding camp, which is a traditional way of gaining revenue from the elephant. And being in a riding camp is a miserable experience for Thai elephants. This is a remarkable small group of 3 females and 2 babies, very relaxed, just browsing, doing what elephants should do. Oh. Hello, we lost it. We lost that there. Can anybody still hear me? Lynn, Chris, can you still hear me? Great. Okay. Sorry. I've had a bit of a blip there. I think we're back on track. Okay. So that is the issue we're looking at here is Omkhoi Evolution Project. Now, during the pandemic, there was a great crisis for elephants because most elephants are found in riding camps in Thailand. There's around 5,000 left, and they are subject to, let's say, abusive practices. So if you ride or swim with an elephant, you are going to be contributing to that process of abuse towards them. So there's a great move in Thailand, and this momentum is really gathering pace, whereby sanctuaries are being created for them to go to. And this new project happened after the elephants in various riding camps around Thailand were retrenched back to the Karen Hill tribes of Omkhoi, who own these elephants, and they rent them out for money, for income for their community to the riding camps. Now, with no riding camps, they suddenly had all their elephants back in their local community, and those elephants were released into the forest, back where they should be. But the Karen Hill tribe villagers were not earning any money from them. So what was set up was this project run by a non-profit called Gentle Giants. And Gentle Giants, what they've done is they, first of all, they help fund the project and the welfare of those elephants during the pandemic. But when tourists started to come back, they set up an ecotourism project. And this project enables you to go along, as I did for 1 week, and spend time in the Karen Hill tribe villages and go out every day trekking to see the elephants in their wild habitat. I can say it's one of the best things I've ever done in Thailand. It's a remarkable experience and chance to see Asian elephants, and also a great chance to meet the community. There were 55 elephants originally, and now there is reported to be 60 since I was there. So some of the females, and you can see the two young babies in this slide here. Some of the females have had wild pregnancies due to local wild bulls in the area. So it's almost like restocking the wild population. And well, one of the joys of this project was meeting the Karen Hill tribe people. They're a community, there's roughly about 400,000 of them in the mountains along the border with Myanmar. And they're a really interesting ethnic minority. They wear very colourful, vivid clothing, as you can see here, in their embroidered red tunics. A really interesting, self-sufficient people who, in this case, they were making money from renting their elephants out, but also from growing subsistence crops and selling to local markets. And we were welcomed into this community. We were staying in tall wooden huts on stilts. So I had a mattress on the floor, and I had a mosquito net to protect me in the evenings. We ate with the locals, lots of local food. Produce was delicious. Rice 3 times a day, naturally, as the village was surrounded by rice paddies. And when we arrived on the first morning, there was incredible welcoming ceremony from the community and also from the local shaman, and whereby they tied bangles around our wrists. There were cotton threads as a blessing for each bangle that was put on our wrist. And we were, I have to say, a little unfortunately made to drink sticky rice whiskey at 9 o'clock in the morning, which was quite hard to take, but all part of the ritual and gladly imbibed. Now, I mean, Thailand has these sort of projects are a great way to get to meet the ethnic minorities, and there's some 75 registered ethnic minorities in Thailand. And, you know, you can really get close to the people and spend time and to meet them and to learn about their culture. And that's one of the fantastic things about the numerous community tourism projects which are developing all around Thailand. And a great way to get into this is to become an eco-volunteer. And I did that at Omkhoi. We'd have half a day watching the elephants, and we would have half a day actually carrying out some task with the local people. On one day, as you can see from the slide, the larger slide to the bottom, that was a morning of rice planting. And oh my God, is that hard work? Incredible. Imagine being bent double with your mid-calf deep in squidgy mud, humid, boiling humidity all around you. And then you see a water scorpion paddle past and you think, is that actually dangerous? Well, turns out they weren't, and I'm still alive to tell this story. But it was a very, very interesting experience. And one morning, I accompanied some of the locals to the school, the primary school, and tried to give a lesson in English to the children. And I devised an activity. I thought, well, how about this? Tell me 10 reasons why tourists should come to visit your village. And this little girl in the front row, she put her hand up and said, weed. I thought, okay, that wasn't quite the one I was looking for. But anyway, there was a whole variety of beautiful reasons, including many Thai pop singers. I'm afraid the king came in at number 10 out of the 10 reasons, but no disrespect to him. And on the other slide, you can see two young gap year students. They were actually shoveling elephant poo onto the back of a truck. And now by this stage, I'd migrated to another project, which was called Elephant Nature Park, which was another winner recently in our Responsible Thailand Awards. You basically spend time at this remarkable reserve up in the Chiang Mai region of northern Thailand. The Elephant Nature Park, run by a famous conservationist called Lek Chailet, has 115 elephants now rescued from riding camps, and they live a very free life. And as a volunteer, you help with the husbandry of these elephants, and it's an absolute delight. In this case, shoveling poo, which isn't too difficult because it's quite fibrous and not too heavy. But I did spend a morning peeling pineapples. The poor delicate elephants don't like the rough skin of pineapples. So I sat there in a pile of pineapples covered in fruit flies and absolutely sick of pineapples by the end of the day. But just seeing them wolf down the basket of pineapples I'd actually peeled later that day was an absolute joy. Now, I mean, why is Thailand a mecca for sort of ecological projects and community tourism? Well, some 31% of Thailand's landscape is what we call protected areas. That includes over 150 national parks. Now, many of those parks, like everywhere in the world, face challenges from deforestation and from creeping cultivation. But so you can do your bit in actually helping out in projects and to help local communities and help the nature. I mean, the biodiversity of Thailand is absolutely extraordinary. Over 1,000 species of birds recorded and some 286 mammal species. It's getting really hard to see wild elephants now. There's some 5,000 in Thailand, as I mentioned earlier, and probably only 1/3 of those actually exist in the wild. But you can head to a national park like Khao Yai in central Thailand, where you can see them with the result of a good tracker. But I would say probably the most obvious biodiversity you will come in contact with is if you head south to the wonderful islands in the Andaman Ocean, the Andaman Sea perhaps. I'm thinking of the Similan Islands, beautiful coral reefs, the rainforests come down to the white sand beaches. I spent much time there diving and snorkeling in tropical warm waters. It's also an absolutely fantastic place to learn how to dive. You can do a PADI or a PADI qualified course, very, very inexpensive, 4 or 5 days in warm water, and you've learned how to dive. It's a terrific activity, and the coral reefs are vibrant and alive and full of tropical fish. And, you know, the message coming from this new approach or this reinforced approach to tourism is that we should have a low carbon footprint. We should try and spread tourist money to smaller communities which don't see perhaps the wealth of tourism coming into, say, Bangkok or Chiang Mai. And the Tourism Authority of Thailand have produced this really good brochure of 20 low carbon routes. And you can actually access this on their website. And it's a really great way to get around, suggesting how you can travel around and what you can see. And it's organized in a fairly thematic way. And I absolutely love traveling around Thailand by railway. It's inexpensive, it's great fun. And the journeys can be slow, but you take in the countryside beautifully. And some of the carbon routes they suggest, low carbon routes they suggest, in this brochure include an adventure destinations route, which takes in activities like climbing and caving, which is fantastic in Thailand. And of course, gastronomy. The further you move away from main urban centres, which are very touristic, you will start to find a really authentic and delicious cuisine. So the gastronomy route is a particular interest to me. And in my backwater travels, for instance, last July, I was in the north in a region called Pai, and I got to see local markets by slow traveling locally. Local markets, I was visiting ethnic villages, seeing some remarkable Buddhist monuments and temples. And also, you can see another, not a small elephant, quite a large female elephant in the corner image. I was traveling through one of the towns in Pai, one of the small villages in Pai, and I saw these two elephants tucked away by the side of the road. And I went over to the owner and said, "Look, what are they doing here?" And he said, "Well, I had a little business, but I've been receiving some money from a non-profit organization to not chain the elephants, and to not have any cruel implements used on them, like the bullhook, and to have no riding." And so I paid him a small fee, which is what he's transitioned to now. And you go for a walk with the elephant and the mahout through the jungle, and it's lovely. Look, it's not total freedom for the elephant. It's a very small and still captive life, but it's a remarkable step up that it's filtering down to even these small elephant community projects, which was just fantastic. And well, look, some people might say, well, look, I've only got a couple of weeks in Thailand. I want to see the cultural highlights, all those marvelous palaces and wats. And I want to go down and have a week to kick back on the beach, perhaps. But in reality, you're never too far from an ethical attraction in Thailand. And particularly in the elephant field, they're expanding. I'm very happy to say expanding very fast. And this one was Pattaya Elephant Sanctuary. Now, Pattaya is not kind of my cup of tea, really. It's infamous for its mass tourism, beautiful, beautiful beaches, but a lot of bars and nightclubs, and it's a bit more of a party town. But just outside, I mean, if you can tear yourself away from the beach for a morning or an afternoon, this lovely sanctuary is run by a terrifically inspiring young woman who grew up in an elephant rearing family, who were rearing the elephants for circus and for riding camps, and she didn't like it. And so she took 3 of the family elephants and set up her own sanctuary. And you go there and you get a chance to walk through the sanctuary, literally side by side with these elephants. It's remarkable being so close to these gentle giants, including Frank. He's an 8-year-old bull, a lovely creature and an inspiring local project. And again, back in 2021, I got a reinterpretation just by opening my eyes of another very popular tourism site of Phuket Island down in the south, one of those paradisical islands with absolutely dreamlike sort of talcum powder white beaches, a terrific holiday venue, but also quite developed in the holiday beach tourism scene. But just look beyond the beaches and you can find some extraordinary and interesting and socially aware projects going on. I mean, food, for instance, often, getting a chance to taste a real authentic food is something we should all try when we go to Thailand. And what I chose to do one morning was go on a food walking tour of Phuket City. Now, Phuket City is a city that a lot of tourists won't see from the beach resorts, and it's a beautiful mixture of Portuguese and Chinese architecture, and it's UNESCO World Heritage listed. And with it, these migrant cultures have brought an extraordinary food culture. So you can see the big platter there is of dim sum, and it's probably some of the best dim sum you can get in Thailand. And that's come from the Chinese migrants who came to work the silver mines in Phuket region on Phuket Island. And we spent the morning strolling around those colourful spice markets, and eventually it arrived to mid-morning. Now, I was still a bit full up from dim sum, but I tucked into some yellow Hokkien noodles. Now, they've come from the Hokkien Chinese influence. Again, these group of people came from mainland China to work in the silver mines, and their cuisine still very much remains part of the local food scene. And then just to finish off, and I was pretty full by this stage at lunchtime, we finished off the wonderful morning tour where I tucked into a mussel curry and roti. And this food was influenced by South Asian migrants who also came to work in the silver mining scene. So lots of fantastic cultural influences that I never knew existed. And likewise, there's a really great chance to get outside in the wild in Phuket Island, away from the beaches, and to find some really inspiring projects. Yet another elephant sanctuary, for which I make no apologies about, because Phuket Elephant Sanctuary is just fabulous. There's 10 elderly females there. Can you imagine? They spent their whole life in riding camps, being repeatedly ridden all day long, chained at night, and suddenly they're released into this beautiful sanctuary adjacent to a national park. And this sense of freedom and their character really emerges, and they can learn to be elephants again. And these two old ladies here, they were absolutely glued together at the flanks. It was quite wonderful, and it was lovely to see them. And you can spend a lovely morning there walking around and keeping a distance from the elephants and just watching them interact with the wild they're in now. And I also heartily recommend exploring the back lanes of Phuket on a cycling tour. That's the bottom image. It was a great pleasure to actually pop on a bike with a local guide and see that iconic countryside that you're not going to see in the resort areas. For instance, lotus flower ponds, golden monasteries, and we met some monks in their orange robes, and also rubber plantations. It was a really, really interesting half-day trip, cycling around, a great way to get around the landscape slowly. And, well, my final slide on this panel is taken from Chalong Bay, and that's a gin distillery. And this is really one of the finest social enterprises I've come across in Thailand. The local owners of this distillery, they are paying sugar cane plantation workers and owners above the wage to buy their sugar plantain and their sugar cane. And they have transformed the industry down in their region to organic, and they employ lots and lots of workers as well at the place. So a terrific project. And I mean, just to say also that being an eco-conscious traveller doesn't necessarily mean austerity, because I finished up my tour there, and it was time to go to their cocktail making class. The gin is really quite good. I made some rather tasty cocktails. Of course, I had to drink them. And I'm just glad in the end that I ordered a taxi to take me back to my hotel that evening. Well, and now finally, thank you very much for listening. And at the risk of offending the entire Thai-speaking world, I'm going to say kok kun krap. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Oh, love those elephants.
I apologise for the blip. My screen froze after the video.
Oh gosh. Well, these things happen. I'm sure everybody understands.
Well, that's remote Dartmoor for you. The government's broadband rollout hasn't quite reached us 5G yet. I think we're still on 1G.
Yes, of course. Yeah, because Mark, of course, is in Dartmoor, and I don't want to harp too much about how cold and chilly it is in Britain at the moment, but I would have thought Dartmoor would be definitely a bit.
Yes, it's perishing cold, and I wish I was sitting right in Thailand right now, eating, as you said, a very tropical and hot curry, and avoiding this miserable damn cold. But yeah, it is what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Welcome back, Chris, as well. Now, before we go to any questions, and I know we've got a few waiting, it is, of course, time to announce the winner of the fantastic prize to win a trip to Thailand. And so I have the name here. I don't know if she's on tonight. That's a clue. It's a female. But congratulations to, drumroll, Linda Dawson. You've won the prize to Thailand. So that is fantastic. Okay. So thank you so much, Mark. That gave us a real insight. And great to have you here. So we'll go on to some elephant questions in a minute. Now, actually, let's go straight into elephant questions. Now, somebody has asked, is there any poaching of elephants?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, not in. Well, obviously in Africa, yes, there is a significant problem with poaching. There are isolated incidences, but I've not heard of a lot of poaching going on in Thailand. Other elephant populations in the region, for instance, in Vietnam, there's just 91 Asian elephants left now in the wild, and I understand in Bangladesh the number is severely low. But I've heard of problems. The human-wildlife conflict is affecting the species in India, and occasionally it flares up in Thailand. But I've not heard of too much poaching going on obviously for their tusks. So
okay, so
that's certainly the case. I mean, what I would say, I think, is, and I think Mark referred to it, is that the whole journey with our Thailand's relationship with elephants, it is a journey. That's exactly what it is. So have we got it? Are we perfect? Certainly not. But we've moved so far forward, I think. And that move from elephant camps, in fact, or elephant riding, elephant camps, to elephant sanctuaries. And I think the one thing I love about the Gentle Giants project is we dare to dream now, which is the ultimate goal, which is getting back elephants into the wild. So the good news is that we've actually maintained over the last few years the levels of elephants in Thailand, but it's moving the domesticated elephant, because that's what most of them are, into the wild is the longer term project. But we are daring to dream that, something you would never have heard a few years ago.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, this Omkoi project for me was the next level up. There's a plethora of sanctuaries appearing, and when I say sanctuary, that's when you've got an elephant which has been rescued from a riding camp, and it's allowed to roam in a fairly restricted area. Admittedly, I mean, buying a sanctuary is a huge outlay, and buying the land is a huge outlay. So this is kind of like the next level up, where they were actually just living out in the wild jungle. And just so people wonder, the mahouts, the people that train the elephants, their job has been reimagined. So these mahouts now are actually just watching the elephants. There's no bullhook in their hands to try and coerce them to do things for tourists. They just watch those elephants, and they make sure they don't go near the crops. And I tell you, every single mahout I spoke to was joyous about this change, that they love their elephants, and to be actually just with their elephants in peace, they were loving their job. And that was a real transformation. It was really heartening.
That's a really good point to make, actually, because I know many years ago I did a kind of elephant experience for the magazine, and what did strike me was how much the mahout loved the elephant. And they didn't want to be, he and his brother, they didn't want to be, abusing the elephant. They didn't want to be pushing it around. And that was a case of an elephant that had been taken from a riding background. And, and I found myself walking alongside this elephant. It was just wonderful. And you felt a much closer commune, but it also meant I got to know the mahout. Very different to sitting behind a mahout on an elephant back. You develop that relationship as well, so it just feels like a win-win all around. Actually, a really good question here, though. I was about to bring it up myself from Maria Miller. How can someone know if something calling itself a sanctuary really is? Because you see places calling themselves sanctuaries all over Thailand. Chris, do you want to comment on that before I mention the Wanderlust articles, of course?
Yes, I was going to say, I would reference you to responsibletthailand.co.uk and to the Wanderlust, which Wanderlust manages for us, and the Wanderlust site. To be honest with you, it's the same problem we have with the categories of hotels. This is a global problem where if somebody calls themselves a 5-star hotel, well, what does that mean? How do you define it? I would say a little bit of research, and you'll see that I would say in general, the vast majority of elephant sanctuaries in Thailand are just that. I've had the pleasure of seeing quite a few of them, and they are really setting a new standard. So always good to do a little bit of research before you go. But I think Joanne was asking about, she was planning a visit with her 11-year-old daughter, and any suggestions for an elephant experience. I suppose it would depend on where you're going, Joanne, in terms of where you are. But look out for the sanctuary word, and that will give you some really good examples of where to go.
Yeah.
Go on, Mark.
I mean, there's some great ones. I mean, I'd really recommend, there's a really small one on Koh Samui, which is a great place, a very touristy island, but a really terrific sanctuary. And they've got 2 incredibly badly behaved babies there, which are just, if you're taking children, they are just total fun. They'll chase chickens around the enclosure, and they're all sorts of mischief. And likewise, Elephant Nature Park is probably the most friendly one to visit. And they've got 3 very young babies there at the moment who spend all their day rolling in mud and getting up to mischief. So if you've got children, they're particularly fun days out. And they're both super kosher in terms of their credentials as a sanctuary. I'd say as a sanctuary, no riding, not too much touching if that can be avoided, and certainly no bathing as well. So that's without those three sort of things, you're kind of on your way to defining a sanctuary, I think.
Yeah, because there certainly are lots of good sanctuaries, and obviously I would hope everybody watching is a reader of the print magazine. We've got Mark's latest article for us in there about the project he was just talking about, and he has actually listed 6 ethical elephant adventures in there. Chris also mentioned responsibletthailand.co.uk, which is a great site, lots of useful information on Thailand, which Wanderlust is involved in. I'll put that URL in the chat box in a minute, but also we'll include it in the follow-up email we'll be doing, so people can look at that, because we've got some great content on there about responsible Thailand, about responsible elephant sanctuaries as well. But Maria, you were quite right to raise that, because of course we know that any place in the world you get the charlatans. Before we move off elephants for a little bit, because we've got some questions as well, we can always come back to the elephants because we've got lots of questions about them. But going back to a question from Tanner, Chris, are elephants holy in Thai culture?
Holy?
Yes. I mean, are they revered? Have they got a special place, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, they're not holy. I think that would be going a little bit too far, but they're very ingrained in Thai history and Thai culture, and the relationship said between Thailand and elephants is a very, very different one to for instance, the African elephants and their relationship with the locals there. So, near holy, shall we say, but not religiously holy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Mark, how widely spoken is English when you're out exploring the backwaters?
Now there's a good one. Particularly amongst the Karen hill tribe people who I've spent time with on various over the years. There's not a lot of English. No, they have their own dialect, and obviously they speak Thai as well. So it's not widespread. I mean, really, you need to be there with, if you're going on a guided trip, say to a hill tribe village, you need to have somebody who can communicate. This project I went on when we set off. There was three of us eco volunteers going. We were the first ones to try the project out, and we had a local guide. She was a Karen woman who spoke Thai and English, and so she was with us throughout the week. And also we had the company of Lek Chila, the well-known elephant conservationist, and she was there for the first week of this project, so to help inaugurate it. But yeah, so it's not widely spoken, but I have found over the years you can achieve an awful lot by gesticulation and drawing pictures on. I've had homestays before. I've sat there. We can't communicate at all other than by using sign language and silly pictures, etc. And it's kind of a fun and different experience.
It's half the fun. It is. I mean, speaking the Thai language, for instance, I can only recommend it to anybody because they have a tonal language with 5 different sounds for every word. So you can call my mother-in-law a crocodile. So we're going to be very careful with these things. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Chris, do you know whether British Airways has plans to reinstate direct flights?
Yes, the big question. So we hope they'll come back in winter next year, but at the moment there hasn't been any announcements at all. We still obviously got our daily flights on Eva Air, and we've got our double daily flights on Thai Airways. They're the direct carriers we've still got, and lots of options in indirect flying, particularly if you're flying from any of the regions of the UK. Emirates will take you through from Glasgow and Newcastle and Birmingham and Manchester and Stansted, as well as the Heathrows and Gatwicks as well. So there's plenty of ways to still get to Thailand. But yes, we really hope British Airways will come back.
Yeah, I'm sure it will sooner or later. Mark, what about wildlife other than elephants? Are there any other mammals you can hope to see? I mean, I think you mentioned the incredible bird life, but what about mammals?
Yeah, I mean, the gibbons are a really nice feature. One of the most interesting sort of simian species in Thailand. And I mean, I think what really blows me away there is the incredible bird life. It's so tropical, and you've got this wonderful mixture of wading birds along the coast, shoreline seabirds, and more tropical sort of parrot type species, etc., etc. So, and snakes. I mean, one of my great, and this may not go down particularly well with everybody, but one of my great was seeing a king cobra. It did have a hiss at me, and I got a very nice photograph of it looking quite angry. So there is a great range of again, it's always about having a really good guide to help you to find these things, particularly when you're trekking in dense jungle. What's your favourite, Chris? You got any?
My favourite snake, or
Animal.
Oh, animals. Oh, yeah, the elephant's obviously my favourite animal, but I would say you're right about the sort of almost unsung heroes of the number of specialist birds there are, because we do have more specialist birds than anywhere else in Southeast Asia. It's something which people don't equate necessarily to Thailand. So particularly up in the north, in Doi An Khang up there is really, really cool. So but the wildlife is something which is not known enough about, really.
Oh, you're right, Chris. Because it's even that national parks. It was great to see that Mark had that map with the national parks on it. I don't think we hear enough about the national parks.
You're right.
I don't think we hear enough about the bird life.
And if you look at many itineraries in tour operators' brochures, there's scarcely a mention of the national parks. But I mean, I've ducked into a few before, and it's extraordinary. You're just in this thick, dense jungle. It's absolutely alive with cicadas and birds song around you, and cool running water, and obviously you're sweltering hot and swatting away things that want to bite you. But it's an amazing experience, and something which I think could really be developed in Thailand.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, going back to slightly more mundane but important issue, is COVID an issue at all, and are the medical facilities any good?
COVID is not an issue in terms of we took away our last conditions of even people who haven't been vaccinated can come into Thailand, no problem. COVID levels have always been far lower in Thailand than we've had over here. But the medical facilities in Thailand are really world class. That this is true in general. That's not something that would worry me at all.
Okay, great. And what about time to go? And does it vary by region?
Yeah, so best time we always say the best time to go is like November to March is the sort of driest and coolest part. So I always say, and forgive me if I'm repeating myself, if anybody's seen this before, but I describe Thailand. If you look at Thailand as an elephant's head with a trunk, and then to the right of that trunk we have the Gulf of Thailand, we have Koh Samui, Koh Phangan, Koh Tao, and actually the best time to go is June to September, whereas the other side of the trunk, which is the Andaman Sea, best time to go is November to March. So it's two different monsoon seasons. But the truth is these days is that there isn't really a bad time to go to Thailand. In terms of the rainfall, that's not really the issue. Humidity can get a little bit in particularly sort of the Aprils of this world. But yeah, it is somewhere which people do quite happily go year round. So being a little statistical for a very quick second, in our biggest year back in 2019, the smallest number of visitors that went from the UK to Thailand in any one month was September, and that was still 65,000 people. So yeah, it is really a year-round destination. But yeah, I think November to March is still where I would go. February is my perfect month.
February is a perfect month. Okay, great. Well, obviously, just remind everybody, we will send out a follow-up email with a link as well, so you can always watch Mark's great presentation again. And we'll cover about best time to go in there as well, if you haven't been taking notes. So some of these answers will be in there. That's really good advice. Mark, any tips for photographing elephants?
You need a wide-angle lens? Sorry, no, there is more to it than that. You know, one of the. Let me just put it in context. Why that Omkhoi project was so good for photographing elephants? Yes, it's in dense jungle and it can be quite tricky, but it did come away with a lot of nice photographs. If you're trying to photograph a truly wild Asian elephant, it's almost impossible. They're thoroughly elusive, and they have good reason to be elusive because conflict with human beings makes them very nervous indeed. So what actually I found in Omkhoi was because these elephants, particularly the older females, had spent their life in domesticity, they were able to hang around you and they were comfortable with your presence. Okay, albeit it's a reimagined, a redefined human contact because we're not going to hurt them, we're not going to get on them and ride them. So it's very, very close. So a project like that gives you a chance to get a little bit closer to them. And my angle, I like sort of just squatting down on the ground and getting a nice wide angle lens and making sure the sunlight's behind me because, you know, it's very difficult photographing in dense jungle. So, yeah, I mean, a long distance lens is really hard again in a jungle. So it's the ability at that project to get close to them and have a slightly wider angle lens made it a joy. And I've got masses of lovely photographs from that experience and much better than any other Asian elephant shots I've ever managed to photograph.
Yeah, it's another great reason to go to an ethical sanctuary, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm sure it must be a dream for photographers.
Yes, definitely so. Yeah, and particularly, well, even better in this case because they're actually in the jungle, and sometimes they disappear in a stand of bamboo, and you hear the bamboo stems snapping, and suddenly they'll push through, and then you can just snap them, and all the while you're quite close to them. So, so proximity, I think, is the best photographing elephants. Be as close as you possibly can whilst being safe.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Chris, we've touched on national parks, and you did say that February is the best time to go as well. Well, lucky Carol is going to Khao Yai National Park in February.
Very good.
So she says, is it recommended to visit with a guide, and is it best to get a guide in advance?
Yeah, look, I'm a great believer that wherever you go in any tourism context, guides are really, really useful. I think you just learn so much more. And I think it's so much easier in terms of understanding the local culture. And so I would always go with a guide wherever I'm going. And I think that's certainly the case in Thailand. I think some people might think, well, just because they can speak more English in the more tourist areas, that a guide's not necessary. I think guides always necessary. Always go for that, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think for wildlife tracking as well, it's really important because I mean, some places you'll go to, they'll have like a little nature trail, and you can poodle around that by yourself. That's very nice. But actually, if you really want to get out into the wilds, you've got to have somebody to guide you for A, not getting lost, and B, identifying all that myriad bird song you have around you, and
understand what you're seeing. It's just like if you visit some of the ancient capitals, like Sukhothai, for instance. You can walk around and have a look at it, but without a guide, you won't understand the history behind it and the context of it. So yes, big fan. Probably have done it, but true.
Totally. No, guides are so important, and we are launching next year's Guide Awards very soon. Watch out for that. Let's hope, Chris, we can get a Thai guide in there. That would be good.
Totally.
Right. Neither of you are female, but I'm hoping one of you can answer Paula's question about: is it safe to travel there as a woman if she goes on her own? And are there any areas or places she should be more alert?
No, look, I would say genuinely Thailand is an incredibly safe place to go. I can only put it in my own context that my beautiful niece, who is the apple of my eye, went traveling singly in Thailand without any problem at all. I think it's like anything else. Obviously, the very, very touristy areas, there are some, but no, I think Thailand as a country is generally incredibly safe for women, as it is for men as well. So there is nowhere I would say avoid this at all.
Okay, great. And Mark, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that. You've presumably come across solo women travellers there.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, I think Thailand gets such a large population of tourists coming, and many people travel by themselves, and often they'll meet other travellers to travel around with. So, the chances of you actually teaming up with people when you're out there, particularly when you go to, I remember at the Elephant Nature Park Sanctuary, there was about it was a group of 8 volunteers, and 4 of those were single women who made their own way there. And, I know after we left that reserve, I think a couple of them went off traveling together around Thailand. So it's a great place to meet friends. And, I've never had any problems at all in Thailand whatsoever in terms of safety. Whereas, some parts of the world, it's been a little bit dodgy, but Thailand has always felt very safe and secure. So,
I think, although it's a while since I've been. Sorry, Chris. We'll fix that.
I know.
I know. I've always felt completely safe there. Yeah, I really do think it's one of the safest. Brilliant. I don't know. I mean, we've mentioned, because Linda wants to know about holidays in Thailand, which take you to any elephant sanctuaries and not riding elephants. We have mentioned, and we'll do it in the follow-up email, that there is content on the Responsible Thailand website recommending sanctuaries. Mark has mentioned some really good ones in the latest Wanderlust, and so we can include these links in the follow-up email. But I don't know, Chris, if you've got any other advice on actually finding a holiday where you can go to the right sort of places.
Well, I mean, I would still go with. Said for me, I've got. Am I allowed to mention companies? Is that allowed? Whether it's G Adventures, Intrepid Travel. Some of these guys really do some fantastic touring opportunities. Particularly, I think in the north. If you're touring the north, I think going on these guided tours I would definitely recommend them. Explore, another great one. So. All Points East, another great friends of ours, do some great tours. So again, for me, I believe the best way to see Thailand is with a guided tour. You can always do the beach bit if you want to do it at the end. Of course, you can do that on your own. That's fine. But please, always engage the guides, and you'll find. Going back to the sort of single female traveler again, the point is that that's sort of what Thailand's all about in terms of the hospitality and that sense of welcome that the Thai people have. That's what makes them pretty famous for it. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And I concur with you on all those companies. The companies that you mentioned are all known to be very ethical. And yeah, absolutely. So Linda, you could try any of those. They all do small group tours and are known for sustainable travel and being very ethical. And at the other end of the market, I think if somebody's looking for a more of a tailor-made tour, a company like Orderly Travel, for instance,
very good,
would only go to ethical places. So, okay, that's terrific. Well, I'm afraid we're running out of time. So I'm going to finish off by asking both of you a couple of questions. I think, first of all, probably because I'm hungry and I'm dreaming now of Thai food, I'm going to ask each of you in a moment to name your favourite Thai dish, get us drooling, and what that is. And then I want both of you to give us a little tip on somewhere to go in Thailand that you feel is very special. So not an obvious place. And we can include this for anybody watching. We'll include it in the follow-up email as well. So just a top tip for you on somewhere that you would really like to go. So let's start with what's perhaps the slightly easier one. I'll come to you first, Chris. What's a Thai dish? You are going back there to Thailand for Christmas.
I am, yep.
What are you dreaming of having out there?
I know, and anybody knows me know that I've always talked about this dish. So it's not for vegetarians, I have to be honest. It's called Sai Ua, and it's or Chiang Mai sausage, and it comes with ginger and chili and garlic and lemongrass, and as you eat it, sort of eats this different flavour sort of hits the back of your throat. It is amazing. It's lovely. If I was from a vegetarian option, which I always want to offer, som tam salad is amazing. Again, plenty of chili, but papaya salad, but really, really lovely. So they would be the two, one for the meat eaters and one for our vegetarian friends.
Oh, I'm just imagining all those spices and herbs. Oh gosh. Oh, Mark. Now yours won't be a sausage, will it?
No, because I happen to be one of those pesky vegans that make but anybody traveling with me makes their life incredibly difficult. But I have sampled in my pre-vegan days. I have sampled all sorts of different Thai dishes. But one dish, I have to have it. When I'll fly in, typically fly into Bangkok. I've got the same hotel I've been staying at for years. A sort of quaint little old place, and nearby to the hotel it has a street seller, and he's doing green papaya salad, and it just blows my head off. It is so spicy. So it's green papaya shredded with various other sort of vegetables in this vinegary chili sauce, and it just cleanses your palate. Well, you can't eat anything after because nothing else tastes of anything other than fire heat. So, and I just adore it. And it's I sit there by the side of the street in Bangkok. There's noisy traffic going past, and I think I pay about £1 for this dish, and I think that's always been absolutely one of my favourite. And the fresh, okay, look, sticky mango rice. It's very cliche to say that. But, you know, to die for a combination of mango, coconut milk and sticky rice is just the most divine dessert. I absolutely love it. So they're my two ritual eats. I don't spend a lot of time in Bangkok, but my two ritual eats, I have to do that.
You have to have
usually the latter sweet dish helps douse the fire of the green papaya salad.
Yeah, you need it, don't you? Oh gosh, how wonderful. Right, Chris, a recommendation somewhere that you think is a really special place to go.
Yeah, I do. I think Mae Hong Son. It really sticks out for me. It's the little known up in the north. So we always talk about Chiang Mai and perhaps Chiang Rai, both of which are wonderful. Chiang Rai, obviously in the Golden Triangle, but Mae Hong Son is just that little bit more turning the clock back a few years. It doesn't have any McDonald's or Starbucks or anything like that, and it sits in a beautiful little valley, stunning scenery. It's the best of the north of Thailand. I think it's absolutely stunning in terms of wildlife as well. So Mae Hong Son would be a little tip for people that often don't go. They don't get on us that far. They go to Chiang Mai, they might go to Pai, but they don't know, or Nan, but they never get on to Mae Hong Son. So definitely go there. It's a beautiful, stunningly beautiful place.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, I went many years ago and agree. It's absolutely wonderful. Right, Mark, have you got one?
Well, I'm going to frame the context of where I would like to go back and experience something again via a particular festival. And I'm not talking about Songkran, the water festival. I am talking about possibly the most violent, the most explosively ridiculous festival I've ever encountered, which is the Vegetarian Festival. This is unbelievable. I went to Phuket. I thought, okay, Vegetarian Festival. It's where the locals believe that to eat vegetables gives you power for a particular time of year. And literally, it's carnage. And so what I would like to do is go back to Phuket and experiencing it again. There are people sticking skewers through their cheeks. There are people self-harming themselves with knives, tying firecrackers to their bare legs. And there's fireworks going off everywhere. And you think, crikey, vegetarianism, you associate this with peace, love and tranquility. But actually, this is war. And it just blew me away. I remember choking on the inhaling fumes of fireworks. There were so many of them going off. I literally felt like a war correspondent. And it just transformed where I saw that happening in Phuket.
Do not try this at home, I think is the answer.
Yes.
Actually, I went to a festival which was following a different way. It was the Yasaton Rocket Festival. That was amazing as well. So basically, you have a series of floats where they parade the rockets, and then the next day, these rockets, which I thought was going to be like a fireworks display. In fact, I took my first ever press trip there, thinking I was going to take them to this lovely little firework display. Well, these rockets are the size of houses, and it's the rocket that stays up in the air that wins. That stays up in the air longest wins, and it was absolute pandemonium, and lives were nearly lost, I have to say. So, but an extraordinary experience, and there was 8 of us, and there was about 40,000 Thais there, and I talk about the perfect opportunity to sort of step into somebody else's culture. It was amazing, I have to say.
Yeah.
Festivals are very good way of seeing local culture, aren't they?
No, festivals definitely are. So I'm sure we'll have a sort of suitable piece of content or something. We can put a link into the follow-up email, because I absolutely agree. Get the right festival and get so much. Okay, well, I'm afraid we're out of time. So thank you so much, Chris, and thank you so much, Mark. I think we all learned lots from that. And so thank you, everybody, for watching. And I hope that was useful. We've got lots of great comments in there. And we will look out for that follow-up email where we'll have the replay of the event if you want to see it again. And we will also answer any questions in there that we didn't get onto this evening. And we'll put lots of useful links and information in there. And thanks again, guys. And hope to see everybody in Thailand before too long.
Okay, good night.
Thank you.
Good night.